And so there was another jewelry store in Robinson at the time. It was on the north side of the square. It was called Pryor's. Now there's a little thing, you know, maybe this may be a local thing, but if I'm standing on the west side of the square in Robinson and somebody would ask me, you know, where was Pryor's, even though it's on the north side and I'm on the west, I would have probably said, oh, it's across the square, and I would have pointed in that direction. If it had been on the east side of the square, I'd go, oh, it's across the square. And that's just the way people kind of do it down there. We all know, if you've read the book or seen the movie, that is the first thing Dave does is he checks into the best hotel in town. And it's called the Hotel Francis Parkman. And he walks down the street to this place. He describes an old-style marble fireplace with a fire in it and deep chairs near the fireplace. The rugs, the furniture, he talks about all this. He tells the clerk that he wants the best room in the house. And he's told, well, that's a corner suite on the second floor. Well, right there's Dave's room. This is the Woodworth Hotel in its heyday. This is circa 1945 from a postcard I have. The description of the lobby, he talks about walking around the corner past the dining room, up the stair to the stairway to go upstairs. He describes it in fairly good detail. And my great uncle used to be a clerk there at the Woodworth Hotel. And after high school, quite frequently, I would walk down there and just sit there and, you know, spend some time. And it's a very accurate description of what the old Woodworth was like. The Woodworth Hotel was built in 1906 and 7 by a man named A.P. Woodworth. And it burned on January 28th, 1979. I covered that fire for the Robinson Daily News. And to give you an idea of how massive that fire was, imagine this entire building covering almost 3/4 of a city block completely engulfed in flames. I could see the fire from Trimble 5 miles away above the trees. Not smoke, fire. It was amazing. Anyway, that's the old Woodworth. Now, he asked, we're only to page 9, don't panic. That's right, we got 1,200 and no. Dave asks Freddie Barker, the hotel clerk, to take his check and deposit it in the Second National Bank, and he makes it clear he wants it in the Second National. His brother is on the board at the Cray County Bank. I have to stop and think about the names of these places because I almost said Crawford County State Bank. Crawford, Cray, wow. Another little play there. But anyhow, he tells him to take it up there, and he sits in the window just like he does in the movie. He watches him walk up the street, diagonally across the street and up the street to the bank. Well, you already saw the bank on the corner, but here it is again. And what I tried to do in this photo was show you the, whoops, cancel that, Doug. I hit the wrong button. I bet it won't come back up now. Come back, please, please, please. They usually don't turn back on. Dang it. See if you can get it going again. I'm sorry about that. I meant to hit the laser button. But right behind that yellow post was the site of the Woodworth Hotel. Darn. We're going to have to wait on it to cool off? How long does that take, I wonder? Hmm? You got another one real quick? I'm really sorry, folks. I can't believe I did that.
Let me ask
Sure. If somebody does have a question, we'll do that.
I'm just a child, of course, so by the time I came along in late 60s, early 70s, the Woodworth Hotel was a flea bag.
Yes.
When did it make that transition?
About that time, I think. And it wasn't your fault. Actually, I can...
Actually, they built motels and stuff.
They built motels and things.
Most people stayed away from town, except
See, the Woodworth, the rooms at the Woodworth did not have individual restrooms when it was originally built. So, that's kind of a, if you got a motel you can go to and have one. It went through several owners after, when that started happening. It ended up being a bar and disco in the downstairs area, and the upstairs was vacant. And there was a man charged with arson as a result of it, but he was not convicted. Excellent. Thank you, guys. I will make sure I push the right. There's too many buttons here. I'm a computer geek, and I'm pushing the wrong buttons. But anyhow, the hotel was right back in here, a block away, right in through there. So he could have clearly watched Freddie walk down the street. Now, the other bank in town, this is from a real old postcard, was in Robinson, was the Crawford County State Bank, and it was right here. We were at the Illinois State Fair back in 1964, and we got word from some other people from Crawford County that came up to the fair that we saw that the night before the bank had burned. And it took out just about everything in that block, and today it looks like this. This building right here is the only part of the original part, or the only building that was originally part of that block. It burned everything. By the way, the gentleman who owns this studio right here, this camera portrait studio, is Wib Powden. And Wib went to school with Jones and has a lot of great stories about him as well. In fact, if you aren't aware of it, Jones fell through a skylight in the school's auditorium when he was horsing around instead of being at his high school graduation rehearsal. Now, I can remember sitting in that same auditorium as a student and looking at those skylights and wondering how in the world could anyone fall that far into hard wooden seats and survive. I mean, the ceiling is higher than this is over here, or was. They've torn that building down now. And I asked Wib about that. And I don't know how he did it either. And I said, well, which skylight did he fall in? He goes, it was one of the ones up toward the front, which would have been further because it was a sloping floor. And I go, really? And he goes, yeah, if I hadn't been at graduation rehearsal, he would have landed on me. He fell on my seat. Anyway, after Dave settles into the hotel, he goes up the street to a bar named Ciro's, and that's where he meets Bama. They did not meet at Smitty's as in the novel, or as in the movie, but for simplicity's sake in the movie, everything happened at Smitty's.